Shalom, 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 y'all. Good morning.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
What happened?
Shalom.
All right, y'all. You know how we do. Hold on, let me get these books up. We don't waste no time here, do we? Can we all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good. Oh, all right. Cool. So, as members and dwellers in the house of Jehovah, right? We are separated from the world by the knowledge and the lifestyle of Christ, that anointed and chosen path, right? And as always, I'm not going to use my words, okay? Use my words. You're just going to go to the book. That's what we do here. Just to reiterate some points, of course, let's go to Ephesians chapter 1, verses 3 and 4. Okay. All right. Wisdom is given, be Yahweh, the creator of our creator of salvation, Jehovah, who has blessed us, giving us knowledge and wisdom with a spiritual wisdom in heavenly places in Christ, that anointed path, right? According as he has chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy, separated, and without blame in the presence of him in promise. Isaiah chapter 57 and 15 A and B, just to make the point. Right there. The reason is thus saith the high and lofty one that inhabits eternity, whose way is holy, separated. Right? Let's go to Leviticus. Again, reiterate, I'm not gonna rush. I'm just trying to let it marinate for a little bit. We go to Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 2. Thus says the high and lofty one. He says, speak unto all the congregation of the followers, the children, the works of the servants of Jehovah, and say unto them, ye shall be holy, separated. The reason is I, the spirit of your guide, am holy, separated. Right? When we came into the truth of God's word, right, I can almost guarantee I can almost guarantee that it hit you like it hit me, like that first breath of clear air, you know, with a feeling of assurance and peace that you've never felt. It's never come over us before. You know what I mean? It's like something different, when that truth hits you, Let's hit up Psalms 119. It's a different feeling, y'all. And we're gonna hit 103. It's an exclamation. How sweet are thy words unto my experience. Yeah, sweeter than that nourishment to my mouth. Let's stay in Psalms. We're gonna go to 130, 119, 130. The entrance of thy words gives illumination. It gives understanding unto the simple. Mic up. I mean, mic up, please. Whatever that is. Check your mics. We stay in Psalms 119. We go to 139. Going to be something here. Check this out. Said, my zeal has consumed me because my enemies have forgotten thy words. There's a reason I'm going there. Because we could hit Matthew to explain. Let's go to Matthew 13 and 23. My zeal consumed me, but because the enemies, you know what I mean? However, he that received that word into the good ground is he that hears the word and understands it, which also bring forth works and brings forth. Some 100-fold, some 60, some 30, right? But we don't know, so we keep moving, we keep pushing in the doctrine, we keep on going in the word, you know, because we never know what his standards are. So we got to keep going, you know. We seen that little bitty mustard seed yesterday on that fingertip. That was my fingers. I cleaned my fingers just so y'all could see it, right? You know, had to clean it off a little bit. Let's go to Isaiah. Chapter 50. Verses 4 and 7. Spirit of God has given me the language, the customs, the ways of the learned, that I should know how to speak a word in season to him that is weary. That's why he's giving us this word, so we can bring it forth, right? He awakens morning by morning. He awakens my understanding to understand as the learned, right? That's why we're here. People got to understand that. Verse 7. The reason is the creator Jehovah will help me. For that reason shall I not be confused. For that reason have I set my understanding like a flint that rot, and I know that I shall not be ashamed. It's a different feeling, y'all. It's a different feeling. We're going to go to, from here, 1 Thessalonians. We only having a conversation this morning. We're only talking. Chapter 2. 1 Thessalonians, chapter 2, verse 13. For this cause, also thank we our Creator without ceasing, right? This is for everything. After when you received the word of Jehovah, God, Yahweh, which you heard of us, you received it not as the word of men, but as it is in truth. The word of God, which effectually works also in you that believe, right? Most of us felt there was something different about our lives, right? That there was something more to life than we were experiencing. But we just couldn't quite get it right. We couldn't catch it, right? I'm sure we all felt like that. Let's go to Isaiah. Actually, let's go to Psalms first. We'll go to Psalms 73. We're just talking, y'all. Spirit of God here with us in the house of Jehovah, and we're having a conversation, right? Psalm 73, verse 22. So foolish was I, and ignorant, no knowledge. I was as a beast comparing to a wicked, evil man. burdensome in your presence. Because we didn't know. We were just moving in the world, you know? We didn't know. But we knew it was something else. Isaiah 59, verses 15 and 16. 15 and 16. Isaiah chapter 59, 15 and 16. Yeah. Truth fails, and he that departs from evil makes himself a prey. We didn't want to be evil, but we still didn't understand. We didn't get it, you know? And the Spirit of God saw it, and it displeased him that there was no correction, no doctrines and teachings. And he saw that there was no man and wondered that there was no intercessor. For that reason, his strength brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness, it sustained him. Mm. There was something going on. Matthew chapter 5, verse 6. Spirit of God speaking. Wisdom is given are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness. The reason is they shall be filled. We were looking, and he was looking too, right? He said, "Whoa, y'all gonna get this work." Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 2 and 3. 2 and 3, y'all. Chapter 8 in Deuteronomy, verses 2 and 3. And you should remember all the way which the Spirit of God, your guide, led you these 40 years of preparation. That's what was happening. We were being prepared in the wilderness, in the world, to humble you and approve you, and you to know what was in your heart and your innermost desires, right? We wanted him, but we just didn't know how to get to him, right? Whether that would keep his commandments or no. And he humbled you and suffered thee to hunger. That means he allowed you to hunger, right? He let you be hungry. And he fed you with manna, right? That messages food, messengers in the world, which thou knewest not, neither did your fathers, your teachers know, that he might make you know that man do not live by doctrine alone, only, right? But by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Spirit of God, doth man or male or female live, right? So it's that word that we were missing. But once we get it, it's a whole different story, right? So when we all acknowledge Yahweh and his spirit, Jehovah, as the creator and maker of all things, we also have to acknowledge the truth of who we are and the scheme of it all, right? So where do we fit in all this mess? Let's go to Second Edra. Chapter 5. We're going to hit verses 23 through 27. Let me just highlight it real quick so I can just read it through. '23 to 27. It said, please, creator that beareth rule of every wood of the earth and all the trees, the elders, the teachers thereof, that has chosen the only vine, right? Nourishment. And of all of the bodies of the whole world, that has chosen a one pit, one body. And of all the flowers, the beauty thereof, one lily. And of all the depths of the multitude of people, that has filled the one nation. Out of all the multitudes of people, one nation. And of all the build the cities, all of that, those 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 ways that are brought up in strength, that has hollowed, separated Israel unto thyself, the followers of Jehovah, those. And of all the fowls, the spirits that are created, that has named thee one purity, one pure spirit. And of all the cattle, right, those beasts that are made, that has provided one follower, right? And among all the multitudes of people, again, those covenants that has gotten thee one people, one. And unto these ones that's passed over, whom now promised, you gave a law that was approved of all. Don't believe me? Exodus 19, verse 5. He said it. He said it. Remember, out of all the things, because he made everything, right? For that reason, if you obey my voice and works and keep my covenant agreement, then you should be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. Remember that multitude. For all the earth is mine. So we're going to be that one people out of all that multitude that we hold to his covenant. But let's see. Let's go to Deuteronomy real quick. Chapter 28, verse 15. But there's a but. When there's a covenant, there's a but. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken or take heed or listen or obey unto the voice of the Spirit of God, your guide, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Let's go down to 68. Something in particular is going to happen to his people, that one people that he chose above all the people of the earth. Something in particular. And the Spirit of God shall bring thee into bondage, again with ships, doctrines, by the way thereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more. And that's that peace, that security, that assurance. And you should be sold, betrayed into your enemies for bondmen, slaves, and bondwomen, slaves of spirit. And no man, or male or female, shall redeem you. Ain't no man gonna get you out of this, right? And what happened? What we say? What we say? Let's go back to Exodus 19. What we say? Verse 8. What we say, Tom? Because he gave us the warning. All the people, remember that one people, answered together and said, all that the Spirit of God has spoken, we will do. All right. And the word of truth, eternal words of the people unto the Spirit of God. Okay. Now, as Israel, we in the house of Jehovah, we eat at his table of abundance, of the abundance of knowledge and wisdom. These are the doctrines and teachings of the Most High God Yahweh, the judgments of Jehovah, his spirit, that bread of life, truth, and righteousness. That's right, y'all. First Kings. We just talking. Chapter 7, verse 48. First Kings 7 and 48, including Solomon, that word, that promise, the promised one, he made all the vessels that pertain unto the house of Jehovah, the altar of men, the abundance of men, whereupon the showbread was. The showbread. What's the showbread? That showbread. Let me get back to it, y'all. Hold up. That showbread. That is that revealed knowledge, that revealed understanding, that holy and separated doctrine. Okay? So now we know what that showbread is. So that's where the abundance of men is, in that revealed knowledge, right? That truth. Let's go to 2 Chronicles, chapter 29. We're going to hit up 35 in here. Verse 35. What else is in the house of Jehovah? Also, the living gifts were in abundance, with the fat, the richness, the increase of the peace offerings, the gifts of peace, and the learning offerings, for every burnt offering, for every living gift. So the service of the house of Jehovah was set in order. Because of that abundance, because of that, what he's given us, that true doctrine. Deuteronomy 16 and 15. Let me get this highlighted real quick. "7 days to the completion, these practices shall you keep. A solemn feast, a gathering of doctrine, a gathering of knowledge unto the Spirit of God, your guide. In the place where the Spirit of God shall choose. After the Spirit of God, your guide shall give you knowledge, wisdom, and understanding in all your increase, and in all the works of your powers. For that reason, you should surely rejoice." Right, because now we're starting to get it. Why? Why is this? Let's go to Sirach, Ecclesiasticus. Why, huh? Why should we rejoice? Chapter 34, verse 8. Oh, I see why. Because the Lord shall be found perfect without lies, and wisdom is perfection to a faithful mouth. Getting it. Getting that. Start getting more confident in this thing, because we're seeing the truth in it. There's no lies. Let's go to Psalms. You can rest in the truth. You don't got to keep watching your back in the truth. You don't got to keep looking over your shoulder in the truth. Psalms 119. Verse 160. 160. Ooh. Thy word is true from the beginning, and every one of thy righteous judgments, every single one of your teachings, doctrines, and teaching, the whole thing, it endures forever. Beautiful. Unfortunately, not all tables are safe to eat off of. And this brings us to our next issue in the work of flesh. So let's get to it, right? That's why we're here, right? Let me close this part and go to Galatians chapter 5. Where we at today? Verse 20. What is our word today? We're right on it today. Heresies. Heresies, y'all. All right. What do heresies look like? What are heresies looking like? False teaching, conflict, got conflict with the truth, right? What's the conflict? Conflict. Go to it. Conflict. You see division, right? Again, false teaching, of course. Rebellion, provocation. Provocation. There's a lot going on with conflict. It's a struggle, right? Wrestling. What else we got? Controversy. Jangling. Right? We got going on. We got some things going on. Look, pride. Ew. Controversy, of course, again. That's struggling. It's a lot going on with this conflict. Rest. That's that struggle, right? So I think we get the idea of heresies, those false teachings, that conflict with truth, that provocation, that janglings, that pride, that wrestling struggle, right? Heresy or false teachings will occur whenever someone tries to incorporate their own understanding into a doctrine they have no understanding of, right? Literally clueless, but they won't talk. Stay in their own mouth. This is very dangerous because they now risk leading the listener astray into confusion and conflict with true doctrine. Jude. Verse 4. The reason is there are certain men crept in unawares who were before of old ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men, turning the grace of our Creator into lasciviousness and denying the only Creator, Yahweh, and our Creator of salvation, JEHOVAH. Right? Galatians chapter 2, verse 4, including that after false brethren unawares brought in, who came in privately to spy out our liberty, which we have in Jehovah's salvation, that they might bring us unto bondage. That's what they trying to bring us to, y'all. These heresies. Be careful. 2 Peter 2 and 1. 2 and 1. However, there were false prophets also among the people, even as there should be false teachers among you who privately shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Creator that brought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. For instance, a few topics which we visit many times, we'll revisit to make the point clear, okay? For many of us, we wrestle with the notion of eating pork, right? We once believed God magically cleaned it in order to, and other items as well, which he initially deemed unclean. This is heresy, right? Because we were taught it was now clean. See, heresy, false teaching. Let's prove the point. Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 7. And the swine, we can go to 8 as well. And the swine, which is unclean, the swine, though he divide the hoof, right? He divide the desires and be cloven footed. He knows the two desires, the desire of flesh and the desire of the spirit. Yet he chose not to cut. He does not consider vision and dream. He is unclean to you, Israel, house of Jehovah. Of their flesh you shall not learn, and their dead bodies thou shalt not be concerned with. They are unclean to you. Psalms. Oh, my bad. 56. Psalms 56 and verse 5. Every day they wrest my words, they struggle with my words. All their thoughts are against me for evil. Just talking, y'all. We're going to go to Job. (14:4). Question and answer. Who can bring a clean thing out of unclean? Not one. Just so you know. You heard it here. You heard it. It's written. Jeremiah 51 and 42. The multitude of people is come up upon confusion. She is covered with the multitude, those people, of the tumults, those seditions thereof, right? The waves, that wrestling. All right? Ezekiel. Let me close this out. Ezekiel 22 and 26. Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 26. Her priests, whose priests? Confusion, Babylon, have violated my law and have profaned my separated things. They have put no difference between the separated and the profane, neither have they shewed difference between the unclean and the clean. They have hid their understandings from my Sabbaths, and I am profane among them. That's swine. That's swine. Heresies. We see people believing God loves the whole world, right? So much that he gave up a man to atone for the whole planet. I know it sounds ridiculous, but people believe it. They literally believe in John 3:16. For the sake of time, we know what that is. We're not going to go there. And they have not considered Isaiah chapter 28, 9 and 10. You know what that is. So God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. And they have not considered that we're supposed to, who he's going to show knowledge and wisdom to, those who, because precept upon precept, line upon line. Here a little and there a little, we're supposed to read this book. And since they don't follow God's commanded methodology on how to read this book, the heresy in that doctrine becomes apparent, right? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 12, verse 2. Remember, JEHOVAH, the Creator, is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The reason is the Spirit of God, JEHOVAH, is my strength and my confession. He also is become my salvation. Romans chapter 5. Romans chapter 5 and verse 11. And not only so, but we also joy in the Creator through our Creator of salvation, JEHOVAH, by whom we have now received the atonement. Oh, so that's where the atonement is coming from? Oh, okay. Oh. 2 Corinthians. That's where it's coming from. Chapter 11, verses 3 and 4. However, I fear, else by any means, comparing the serpent, that split doctrine, entice the flesh through its subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in JEHOVAH, that atonement. The reason is provided he that comes preaches another salvation, whom we have not preached, or if you receive another spirit, which ye have not received, or another message, which ye have not accepted, ye might well bear with him. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. Verses 1 and 2. 1 Timothy 4, 1 and 2. Now, the Spirit speaks expressly that in the latter times shall some depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. 2 Timothy 4 and 4. And they shall turn away their ears, their understandings from the truth, else should be turned unto fables, lies, story time, heresies, right? Okay. Being in conflict with the truth, believing that the law is done away with, teaching only from the New Testament, 66 books, omitting the Apocrypha, exegesis, hermeneutics, concordance, Greek translations, these all lead to false teachings, false understandings, and confusion and provocation towards Yahweh and his word. All heresies. All of them. Let's go to Isaiah. Chapter 30. The shame of it all. Verse 1 and 2. Woe, destruction to the rebellious children of, says the Spirit of God, that take counsel, but not of me, that covers with the covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, wicked thoughts to wicked thoughts, different, that live to go down into bondage and have not asked out my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of the king of sin, those wicked thoughts, and to trust in the covering of bondage. Craziness, destruction to that. It comes to those. We were there. We were there. Let's go to 1 Maccabees, chapter 8. And go ahead a couple of spots here. Where we gonna go? 29 and 30. According to these articles, did the Romans make a covenant, an agreement with the people of the followers of Jehovah? Howbeit, hereafter, the one party or the other shall think to meet. So we're going to think it's good to add or diminish anything. So if it's good to you, then they could do it at their own pleasure. We could do it at our pleasure. And whatever they shall add or take away should be ratified or seen as doctrine. Legal, so to say, right? It's legal in their eyes. Whatever you want to put, go ahead, do it. Right? Craziness. Let's go to 9. Stay in 1 Maccabees chapter 9 and verse 27. So you could have this type of thing going on. So there was a great affliction in Israel, the light whereof was not since the time that a prophet was not seen among them. It's like you have no teacher, right? It's like you're just doing just creating any way you want to go, right? Revelation chapter 22, verses 18 and 19. Chapter 22, verses 18 and 19. Let's get to it. Pardon me. 18 and 19. Get some of this here. The reason I testify unto every male and female that understand the words of the prophecy of this book, providing any male or female shall add unto these things, the Creator Yahweh shall add unto him the plagues, the curses that are written in this book, including providing any male or female should take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, Yahweh, the Creator, shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of that separated city and from the things which are written in this book. We are also guilty of once believing that God hates the sin, wicked thoughts, yet loves the sinner, one who commits acts of wicked thoughts or iniquity, right? These words are found nowhere in Scripture. If we are not vigilant and diligent in our studies, we will once again be fooled by feigned words and vain janglings. Yeah, ain't that something? So let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 30 and verse 15. And I will pour my fury upon sin, wicked thoughts, the strength of bondage, and I will cut off the multitude, the people of no. Worth, no. What's no mean? No. No. Nothing. Vanity. Without a dogs, right? Just stick to that real quick. You know what without is. Who's without? Them dogs. So those people are getting cut off because they're without. Dogs. Wisdom of Solomon. That worthlessness. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 4. Oh, I'm sorry. Wisdom of Solomon. Verse 4. Chapter 1, verse 4. That reason, is into a malicious soul, wisdom shall not enter, nor dwell in a body that is subject to sin. That mustard seed, y'all. You got it in you, he ain't coming in. Second Esdras. Second Esdras. Chapter 15, verses 24 and 26. Woe to them that sin and keep not my commandments, said the Creator. For the Creator knows all them that sin against him. And therefore, for that reason, he delivers them unto death and destruction. Oh, but he loves the sinner. He loves the sinner. Amos, chapter 5, verse 21. I love the sinner. He loves the sinner. I hate, oops. I despise your learning days, and I will not appear in your solemn assemblies, your holy gatherings. Oh, he loves the sinner. Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, verse 6. He loves the sinner, right? He hates the sin, but he loves for the Most High hates sinners out and repay vengeance unto the ungodly and keeps them against the mighty day of their punishment. Spiritually, how does this look in our personal walk? Real quick, right? Can we become heresies? Yep. Let's go to Nehemiah real quick. Nehemiah. Chapter 9, verses 18 and 26. Can we become heresies? Yeah. When they made them a goat molten calf and said, this is your God that brought you up out of bondage and had wrought great provocations, heresies, provocations. 26. Nevertheless, they were disobedient and rebelled against thee and cast thy law behind their backs and slew their prophets, cut them off. We ain't trying to hear them, which testified against them to turn them to thee. And they wrought great provocations, heresies, our own vain imaginations. 1 Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 19. The reason that there must also heresies be, for there must be also heresies among you, that they which are approved may be made known among you. Heresies. Acts, chapter 20, verse 30. Also, of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things, to draw away disciples after them. Matthew 23 and 15. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye compass people and bodies to make one proselyte follow you. And when he is made, he make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. Job. What we got here? Job. Chapter 34. Just showing y'all what these things, what this looks like, man. We got to see what this heresy look like. especially in our own lives. Chapter 34, verse 24. 24 through 28. He shall break in pieces mighty men without number, without that divine ordination, without them laws, right? Without order, and set others in their stead, in their places. For that reason, he knows their works, and he overturns them in the night, that darkness, so that they are destroyed. He strikes them as wicked men in the open sight of others, after they turn back from him and would not consider any of his ways, so that they cause the cry of the poor to come unto him, and he hears the cry of the afflicted. 30. That the hypocrite reign not, else the people be ensnared. Essentially denying the doctrine of truth in order to satisfy our own vain understanding. Malachi. Malachi. Chapter 1, verses 7 and 12. He says, ye offer polluted doctrine upon my altar. And you say, where have we polluted thee? In that you say, the table of the Spirit of God is contemptible. However, you profaned it. In that you say, the abundance of the Spirit of God is polluted, unclean, defiled. And the works thereof, even his doctrine, is contemptible, hateful. Walking hypocrisies, bad influences, not being a good example to the people, leading them down a dark path, full of pride, which leads to seditions, right? As much as we have all been guilty of all those things, our Creator Yahweh has sent his word, the Spirit of JEHOVAH, to provide us with a means of escape, right? And for that reason, we can examine the question, why fast? Well, as is written, as the written word of Scripture is all knowledge, it is commanded to be learned for our protection and the approval into the house of JEHOVAH. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 15 and 16. He says, study to show thyself approved unto God, to Yahweh, a workman that needs not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth, but shun profane and vain babbling, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. Shun it, avoid it, escape it, eschew with it, abstain from it, refrain from it, fast from it. John chapter 3, verse 31. He that comes from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthly and speaks of the earth. He that comes from heaven is above all. 30. He must increase, but I must decrease. Right? If we're to learn true doctrine, we can't have pride anywhere in our hearts. Right? When we came across the truth, when we came to the truth, we heard, and now we constantly hear newcomers being told, to throw everything away that they have ever learned before this doctrine, right? That takes a certain strength through humility, which will realign us with the spirit and the nature of the Most High God, Yahweh. It does. It takes a certain strength and humility to do such things. Let's go to Isaiah. Chapter 57, and 15. We're going to cover that whole verse. We'll cover the whole verse. But thus said the high and lofty one, that inhabiteth eternity, whose way is holy, separated. I dwell in a high and lofty place, and high and holy place, with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble, and to revive the heart, the desires of the contrite ones. Humility. Once we obtain the heart and the willingness to hear the truth, we must be able to distinguish knowledge of righteousness from the defiled understandings. It's a difference. Let's go to Leviticus. Leviticus, chapter 11, verses 43 and 44. It says, "You shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creeps, neither shall you make yourselves unclean with them, that you should be defiled thereby." Don't do it. The reason is I am the Spirit of God, your guide. You should, for that reason, sanctify yourselves, and you should be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall you defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. Distinguish it. Proverbs, chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. Hear, ye children, the instructions of a teacher, and attend to no understanding. The reason is I give you good doctrine. Forsake ye not my law. Matthew. We flowing into it, y'all. We flowing. Chapter 16, verses 6 and verse 12. Then salvation said unto them, take heed and beware of the defilement, the lies of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Verse 12. Then understand they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Why? Galatians. You said why? Galatians chapter 5 and verse 9. Why? Because a little leaven defilement defiles the whole lump. That mustard seed, smidgen, tiny bit. Remember, like I said, we did that experiment with the mustard seed. Even that much impurity will render us wholly defiled in the sight of the Lord, right? For this reason, we must regard every single commandment in our hearts as a display of faith and obedience, showcasing our union and relationship with our Father and Creator Yahweh, becoming living examples of that truth to the world, thereby abstaining from the heresy and false teachings of the law being done away with. Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 and 18. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For truly I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 8. For that reason, let us keep the feast, the doctrine, the learning, not with old defilement, not with practices of defilement, neither with the lies of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened, the pure doctrine of sincerity and truth. The Creator will teach us by his own Spirit, which he sent, establishing the covenant with our bodies. The Spirit will quicken us and provide us the ability to discern the truth. John, check your mics. Make sure you're mic'd up. Make sure you're mic'd. John, chapter 6, verses 43 through 51. Run it down real quick. Salvation, for that reason, answered and said it to them, murmur not among yourselves. No man could come to me, including by the Father, which has sent me, draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets, and they should be all taught of God. Every male or female, for that reason, has heard and has learned of the Father, the Creator, comes unto me, Jehovah. Not that man, male or female, has seen, perceived the Creator, only he which is of the Creator. He has perceived the Creator. Truly, truly, I say unto you, he that believes on me hath everlasting life. I am that doctrine of life. Your teachers did learn manna in the wilderness and that influence of the world and are dead. This is the doctrine which comes down from heaven, that a man, male or female, may learn thereof and not die. I am the living doctrine which come down from heaven. Providing any male or female learn of this doctrine, he shall live forever. And the doctrine that I give is my flesh, the influence, the example, which I will give for the life of the world. Romans 12:1. I beseech you for that reason, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living established covenant, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Back to John chapter 6 and verse 63. It is the spirit that quickens. The flesh profit is nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. 1 John. We just running real quick and then we out of here. 1 John chapter 4, verse 1. Promise one. Believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they're of the Creator, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 7 and 8. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man a prophet withal. The reason is one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit. 10c. To another, discerning of spirits. All right? Hebrews 13 and 9. Be not carried about with diverse and strange doctrines, for it is a good thing that the heart, the desires be established with grace, not with doctrines which have not profited them that have been occupied therein. Why? Why is that? Cause Luke 4 and 4C through E. Because even the Spirit of God says it. It is written that man should not live by doctrine alone, but by every word of God. Listen, I'm going to keep it real. I remember being so desperate for the truth that I believe angels were going to come beam true believers up and take us to heaven while those left behind were left for destruction. All right? You got me. You got me. You got me. But I'm going to ask y'all, do you remember the most ridiculous doctrine you fell for? And how did you recognize the truth of God's word when you heard it? Right? Or how have you overcome being a walking heresy through the true knowledge and wisdom of Jehovah? That's what I'm asking y'all. Because I kept it real. It was embarrassing. I told you. We here. We could kick it. We in the house of Jehovah. Brother Siobhan.
Shalom, Deacon Hicks.
Hello, my brother.
Shalom, everyone. I can remember my first time that I heard that we were not African Americans and we were lied to and came into the truth. Then I got blindsided by one of those camps. They ripped me off for $150, 12 lessons. And as I was going through, it kept popping up. And what's the name? Ross Long kept popping up a little bit. And then Elder Johnson. And when I started listening to Elder Johnson, I saw the way that he was presenting the information and using the precepts. I had never seen that before. And there was no way in the world that I was going to walk away from that lesson or any of those teachers to follow anything else. And I've been here since then. Thank you.
Oh, bro, I concur. I concur. Thank you, bro. Shalom to you, brother Henderson. Yo, D.
Hey, what's up, Deacon?
What's good, bro?
Man, see. So yeah, this here, it is what it is though, because I was sitting there being stupid. But yeah, it was around that little time period where that false testimony I put out went up, and it was like I got flooded by a bunch of just stuff. It was Christians trying to tell me to look at this, and it was camps that was telling me to look at that. I think GMS pulled up and was trying to tell me to look at what they was talking about and all these other things. But there was this one dude in particular that was completely insane, and he had me believing something that it don't make no sense whatsoever. But basically, the long story short is this man convinced me, right, that the spiritual warfare that we fighting is when we dream and we go to sleep, and that every night when we go to sleep, that's when the warfare start. And every time I go to sleep, I need to make sure I'm putting on this armor. I need to make sure I'm doing all this stuff so that when I go to bed, I'll be able to do all this stuff all the way to the point where I went to a freaking building to get baptized there so that I could get stronger and do all it. Didn't make no sense, bruh. Like I was sitting here in real life like, oh, I gotta be ready. I gotta do it. Did not make one drop of the sense. He over here talking about some, oh yeah, don't spray on cologne or anything. That attracts spirits and all this stuff. Telling me all these physical things and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh man, I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Reading out of the NLT. Talking about some, oh yes, see, look right here. They clean the pork. And I'm like, I don't know if that makes sense or not. Look, it said right here, but see, I didn't know. I wasn't in the King James. He was reading out all this other stuff. So I'm like, well, dang, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be looking at. So they was just telling me anything and everything. Camps was coming, telling me that They was telling me that America was Egypt. They was telling me they was telling me all types of stuff, and I was just in a pit of confusion. But boy, I had to learn, like, okay, it got to a point to where, like I said, it through the process of time, I had gotten so desperate to know. I'm like, bro, okay, something, I need to know what's going on. Like, I really need to know what's going on, to where I started crying because I was like, I don't know what's happening at this point, and I need to know it. And then next thing I know, I was led to one of Elder Lynn's teachings on strange wives, because I was with a Japhet at that time, and then the rest is history. So, but yeah, that thing with the Dream Warrior thing, I didn't know. I wasn't in the Apocrypha, but see, once I seen some of them verses in the Apocrypha about dreams and regarding dreams and stuff, and this dude had me real life thinking I'm Superman in my sleep. I was like, man, I'm sick. This is ridiculous. But that's about it right there.
Oh, I'm telling you, bro. Look, all you. All right, all right.
Shalom.
Hello, bro. Brother Antonio. Can't hear you, bro.
Hey, shalom, shalom.
No, my brother.
Well, it's everything what people say. I fit in some, and then I kind of I was out of the going out of the world, but I was going to the wrong direction. Then, like when I found this truth, is had to come back again, and then everything over here is. I don't want to be in no other place than over here. There is no other place. You can take my life, you can take anything, but yeah, there is no. I don't have even words to say. It's so, yeah. I like, yeah, Elder said, you can, with this knowledge over here, you can debunk everything in this world, everything, even that Big Bang theory. Yeah, is a explosion gonna produce life? I don't understand that. A destruction gonna bring life. It's insane. But anyway, um, that's the world was telling us. For me, the world is beautiful. La la la. You know, colorful, everything. But it's all lie. Now I'm not true, so I'm still struggling. I might have an appointment with my physician maybe Monday to take care of my diseases, and from there I hope I can get stronger and go through that door. I hope. Uh, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for the elders and deacons for everything. There is no other place I want to be. Even though I'm tired, even though I wake up a little bit late, but everything is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. That's it. Thank you.
I hear you, brother. Sir, appreciate it, and let God go with you in your appointment and all that. You know what I mean, brother Connor.
Shalom, digging that.
Long brother.
Brother Daniel, I'm a recovering sinner.
Know that.
Man, I had the Heresy starter kit. Of course, started with Christianity. Wasn't, as you grow older in it, you kind of read off from with your parents and grandparent brought you through. So we just we during my era we had a lot of music that that put that 5% stuff. Wu-Tang, Eric B. Rakim. And, I started, when the internet hit, I started to get a lot of that literature and thinking we were gods and all this. And then I moved from that to the, thinking we were Egyptians. Moved from that. Then I got introduced to the camp through somebody who was in the camp. And then it just, everything just wasn't, I was just staggered from lie to lie, heresy to heresy. And then became KJBU, and everything was lining up. It wasn't no lies anywhere to be found. And when they went back, watched teachings 5-6 times, and went through the Bible, couldn't find any lies. Anything added. This is the only place where I found everything was stated within the framework of the Bible. There was nothing brought in or taken out. Everything stayed as it was written from the beginning. And I'm thankful that I found KJBU and learning and putting together some stuff so I can share what I know with everybody. And I want to thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to speak.
Every time, my brother, you know it. I appreciate your input and for sharing your experiences, bro. And shalom to you, brother Connor.
Shalom.
Sister T.
Shalom, shalom. Good morning.
What's up?
So it's funny because when I was young, I always asked questions. And so especially when I started reading. So I started reading the Bible for myself because my grandma told me, you believe everything in that book, even though she couldn't, just understand or read like that. So I started reading, and I asked the question. I said, why is it that the Bible and the commandments say that we must honor the Sabbath, And I asked that question to my aunt, and she gave me this crazy answer. And I asked her because she had been going to these buildings longer than me. So she was like, well, it's because that when back then the synagogues was full, so nobody, people couldn't get in to worship. So they had to create another worship day. And I'm like, are you serious? It just didn't sit well with me. So ever since then, I started looking, and I'm like, I started reading, and I'm like, I want to understand this, even though they had told me, well, if you don't get it from one pastor, you go over here and you get it from another, because their delivery might not catch you. And I'm like, okay, so I started hopping. I go from this place to this place, and I wasn't getting nothing that I was looking for. I wasn't getting the understanding. I was getting their understanding. So I was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm going to go over here and try something else. And so all the way up until a year ago, I was searching, and I found the truth. And I'm thankful that I am here with KJBU. So that's it.
Sis, I appreciate your input. Nah, man, there's a lot of jangling going on. So, Sister Shantek. Can't hear you, Sister Shantek.
Trying to get to it. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
So mine is pretty interesting. So I thought that, oh gosh, I thought that all the names of these idols, right, were the names of God, right? So you can go over to Hinduism, you can go over to Buddhism, you can go over in the Baptist church, you can go over to Pentecostal. It didn't matter. Like all of these were the different names for God, because God was in everything, right? So much so that I got upset when people called me a Christian, because I deemed myself spiritual. That was just like it. I wasn't a religion. I wasn't part of nothing. I was just spiritual, which meant whomever I spoke with and whatever came to me, if it jobbed with me, I'll take a little bit of that, right? It was insane. And then like I was in a place where I was just looking. I don't even know really what I was looking for. Just nothing settled. Nothing felt right. Nothing felt complete. And met David, and he was in KJBU. And that's how I got introduced to it. And when I tell you the beginning of this lesson, when you were talking about how nothing said, nothing made sense, nothing, it was just empty, regardless of like where you went. It was so true. until I start learning at KJBU. And when I tell you, oh my goodness, like it opened up the well of questions. It was like everything that I had ever questioned my entire life made sense now, and it continues to make sense in 6 or 7 years that I've been here. It just amazing. So that's it. Thanks.
Beautiful. I appreciate your input, sister. Shalom to you. Sister Elaine.
Hello, shalom, Deacon Hicks.
Hey, shalom, sister.
Shalom. Now let me see where my confusion started. I went to church for about 2 years with my kids because I was trying to find out what is required of me. What does God want? My mom was like, God who? Yeah, every time we eat, we praying to God. Every time someone sneezes, she says, God bless you. And I said, well, you say that. She's like, I don't know. Right? So she didn't know. So then when I got older, a friend said, oh, come to my church. And I went to church. They give you the read the Bible for a year thing because I want to know, what God is required. Of course, they want 10% too. That lasts 2 months with me. So I said, listen, I don't understand anything in the book. You just telling me to read this and right. So I'm thinking trees is, a snake is talking and trees is walking. They like, yeah. I said, yeah, what? I don't understand. Why can't we, what do you mean? What are we eating from the tree? So I learned for the whole year, nothing. And then I let them know I can't, I don't believe that God wants 10% from me. Because I have hardly nothing, but I don't believe he wants 10% from me and I don't understand what's going on. So anyway, fast forward, I got out of that. 4 years ago, then my son, he went to church because, I introduced him to that before, but he was in church and he said, Mom, this church is not, I got questions. They're not teaching the right thing. I said, I don't even know. I read this book and I don't even know. All I know is, we need to do what's right in God's eyes. I said, but we got to find out what that is. So he found out first. So he says, hey, I'm learning over here at King James Bible University. I'm going to send you the link. At the same time, my brother also trying to find out who God is. He went to Texas. He joined the camp. So he said, hey, I'm learning, God is calling us back to him. I said, great. And he sent me the link to the camp. So now I got King James Bible University and the camp. I got my son and my brother. We are all trying to find out because we all have been. So when I came here, now I can understand there's no tree, it's an elder. This is a man sitting here telling us a lie. Great. But then when I'm looking at the video for my brother, because we're all learning and we get together sometime, then this man is telling you, he said, don't eat the blood. Now I know that means don't learn the lifestyle. But that guy, Nathaniel, they call him Bishop, right? He's telling them we became cannibals. I had to cut that off. So I said, first, we can't eat pork or seafood, but now we could eat each other. I said, listen, I'm not going to listen to that. So I had to tell my brother, I love you. I love you. I said, but that doesn't seem right. So I said, I'm going to leave that alone. I said, I couldn't even get through his tape. And then I've been here for 5 years. And when truth hits you, because just like Elder always said, and everyone, don't listen to me. I'm Flavor Flav. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, see what's in the book. Everything y'all said was in the book. And this is the reason why we got the book. And now everything came together. And then eat the blood is, I had to tell my brother, don't learn the lifestyle of the heathens, of the ones doing. And he's like, no, because he said eat. I said, right, but it's spiritual. And then I tried to take him to Psalm 78, but you see, that caught him first. So I said, yeah, I can't, don't send any more videos with that. I said, but if you want to talk and learn as we're learning, because we're trying to find truth, then you could talk with me. And he talked with my son too. That didn't go well. He was like, oh no, I don't want to talk to James about that because he's adamant about finding out what saith the Lord. I said, we're not dressing up and calling, and then he called his wife Ezekiel. And like my son said, well, why has his wife got a man's name? I said, I don't know why, because he's telling you to change your name, your way. So that's when I knew 5 years ago, this is where truth is. And, we talk sometimes, but some people don't want to get out of it. But I can't move. I got it. Like he said, if you find a man of truth and KJBU and Loss of House Sheep, get betimes his door. So I've been here ever since. And truth, I know it's true. And now I know what is required of me. So I just wanted to share that.
Beautiful. That was fun. I appreciate that, sister. Shalom. Yo, brother Phil, what's up, man?
Shalom, D. What's up, bro?
Good, bro. Shalom to you, man.
Man, I can write a book, bro. My man, I can write a novel. Man, just man, it's crazy. Some of the things getting caught up into, man, because when you're young in the streets, partying, God hit you in the head, you like, man, I was in college, I'm gonna die in this stuff. I got to get out of here. So when I left school, I went back home. One of my partners, he was in the Marines. He came home, and then his mom was going to church. And so he started sneaking out to church. He used to work out every day. So I said, hey, man, where you going? You ain't working out no more? He said, nah. He wouldn't tell me. So I went to church, man. This is how Satan to get you. But I wasn't in no church at the time. So I went to the church with him one day, and then I saw in the church men. I ain't never seen men in the church. It was full of men. That really caught my attention. And then I was like, maybe this is the reason why I had to get out them streets, man, because I see these men, they look like they want to serve the Lord. I want to get out of this stuff. So I jumped in there and I started running hard with the Bible, like reading, I started running because I wanted to get out the streets, man. So from there, I get a foundation in that church stuff and then that Pentecostalism and all that, right? So with that, one of the biggest deceptions was Jesus is God, right? So they gave us all that kind of stuff. And, the spaceship, the rapture, all that dumbness, right? So we had to tackle all that. So caught up in all of that stuff, I get in the military. I'm overseas. So my mind is I got to serve God. So I'm just going 100 in what I think is the truth, right? So after all them years coming back to the States, progressing in those organizations, I was in a church with this guy used to be my best friend. So I'm in a church with him. He the pastor, right? So in the organization, I started, just things started getting weird for me. I was like, man, something off, right? So I started, I don't even know how it happened. I just started reading. I came across the Apocrypha and, I started seeing things, and then I would teach, and then he was like, man, why did you use the name of Jesus no more? And I would say JEHOVAH and stuff like that. And he would be like, and I heard a little bit of camps, but I wasn't in a camp. And then I started just sharing certain things out of the Apocrypha, and he said, that book is heretic. So he said, man, he started trying to make a deal. We can put you up to be a bishop and all this stuff. And I said, nah, man. So we started separating. And one of my friends that that we was in all this church stuff together, he from London. He had moved to Texas. And when he was in London, I used to preach for him in the church in London. And it was like 500-600 people in there, big church. He making money, he in Texas. So I find out he's here, I contact him. He left the church too. So, but he was pushing, we're Hebrews, and I was hearing about it and I was reading. So I started getting with him. I said, okay, man, show me. So he started showing me all this stuff. But he was pushing camp. He wasn't in the camp, but he was pushing camp stuff, right? So a couple of times I would drive down to Houston, hang out with them, and we'd be on the phone all the time, and he's showing me, right? So I'm like a sponge. I'm trying to find out the information because I always had this desire to know who I really was. So he go out on the street and I go out with them and I'm like, but they got this stupid 12 tribes chart. They keep talking about these Mexicans as Israel. They wasn't sitting right with me, bro. I was like, nah, I ain't feeling this, right? So the crazy thing was one day, matter of fact, actually another time I bought some t-shirts with fringes from this dude in Austin who was with IUIC. And then they invited me up to go there. So I went there one night and I went in there. I was like, nah, bro, this is crazy. I sat in the back. I looked at these dudes. I was like, man, these dudes is hustle. This is nuts. Being an older brother, I could discern these guys. I'm like, these guys in here tripping. They in here fleecing these people. So I left out of there, came back home, getting with my friend. All of a sudden, I remember one day I came across Elder, this is like 8 years ago, online. And I started plugging into KJBU every day. I left that other stuff alone. And I told my friend, I said, man, I'm about to order this thing called a preceptor. He was like, what is that? I said, man, it's going to help us in our studies. You need to get it. I didn't even have it yet, right? I said, I'm about to order this thing called a preceptor, right? So I was telling him about it. And then I ordered it, and I just jumped into KJBU in the back. I was just in the back listening, notes, listening. And what happened was, when I gave him the information, he didn't come. He stayed in the church he was building. He building this Hebrew church. They got a building. They got all this stuff. I came this way, and once I came this way, and I just sat down and was listening and gaining information like a sponge, and I realized even like this week, talking with Elder Carlos, we was talking about sitting under the oak tree, sitting under thick trees. And, KJBU and Elder Johnson, that's a tree for me, man. I sit under this tree and I'm learning, I'm growing. And so I'm definitely grateful to the Most High to get me out of all that heresy, all that confusion, all of that craziness, from being a Christian to just being confused, to knowing the right path. And every day we're just moving closer and closer to greater knowledge and understanding. And like yesterday, man, that pyramid thing just blew my mind, bro. I was like, whoa, and that mustard seed, I already got mine. I got mine last week, and I'm looking at it too. So, man, this is just good to be on this side, bro. Because heresies is like roaches, man. You get one, they gonna multiply. If you got one, you got thousands, because they gonna multiply. But it's just good to be moving out of that and get out of that. And like Elder been saying all along, and I say this to people who do come. And once you get into the truth, to go there, you got to let go of everything. You can't take no baggage. And sometimes there may be some stuff lingering you don't know, and then the Spirit of God will expose it, and then you got to just throw it away. And so that's it, man. I'm just glad to be out of all that confusion, bro. I was waiting for the beam me up too. When you talk about beam me up,
all over the place, man, all over the doggone place. But yeah, once you find that
man.
truth, you get solidified. It's an anchor, bro. It's something different.
Bro. I appreciate you, man. Hey, I love it, man. Appreciate you, bro.
That's all good. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for sharing, brother Phil.
All right.
Shalom to you, man. Sister Sharon.
Shalom, Deacon.
Sister.
How are you? How are you?
Good.
Okay. This Bible is no joke. You know what I'm saying? It is my father, he is no joke. It's like when you know truth, and then it's like the words, everything that you did carnally in the world, it's right here in the Bible. It's just you didn't know the words, you didn't know the spiritual meaning, you didn't know what you were doing, but it's right here in the Bible. And, in my country where I grew up, every year there's this, tradition. So, you go back to 2 Timothy, where, these tradition, we have this carnival every year. And of course, it's a tradition of man, and it's called our so-called heritage, right? That is what they tell us, right? And it's something you do every year. And of course, I used to take part in it. And it's all, heresies. I was like a walking heresy. It's like you going in this band and you whining and you jumping up behind a band and the music, and it's all devilish. And you don't know what, it's just something they say it's your tradition. This is what we do, and it's crazy that, you don't know you are putting yourself in a situation of death. You are walking in death, and you are actually give your life to the devil, not knowing it. And, when you come, and, when I came to this country, I had stopped. I used to do it over here too, but I just stopped. I just stopped for no apparent reason. Because I find, it's, just stop. And then you walk in heresy, and then you know the saying, you jump out of the frying pan and you go into the fire. That's the thing, because now you're going into the church, right? But there's no difference. So it's really exciting to know that, when you're in the truth and you feel good, although you have a lot of, things to do still and things to, clear up, within you, at least things that you see that it's wrong, you are able to stop and not regretting it. You don't want to go back there because now you want to please the Spirit of God. Now you want to please Him because one thing Elder had told me, and which was so profound to me, I never knew. I asked Elder, I said, Elder, how can a spirit feel? How, he has no flesh, he can't feel. And it took a great impact on me when he said, anything you do in your flesh, don't you know it hurt him? Mm. And I was like, wow. So I try to be so aware that, imagine that, you doing things and you just do it, whatever, like that, not knowing everything that you do, which he does not like. Forget that he's not going to be in you, but just, he doesn't like or think that's hurting. He feels that. He actually feels that. And it's like, it's like you burn yourself, you feel the flesh, and he is feeling that. So you know what it feels like. You are hurting someone else. You are hurting besides hurting yourself, besides you doing the things that is carnally what you think it's okay. You are actually hurting the Spirit of God also. So that, I just wanted to, to bring that out in the sense that, I was a walking heresy, and I thank the Most High, for bringing me in this truth and bringing me under KJBU with all the elders and the teachers, and to learn from, and that the one body and the sisters and the brothers and this unity, and it's always as you said, it's a different spirit. It's a different spirit you feel in this body. It really is. It's not a church thing. It's nothing like that. It's really a different spirit. And thank you.
I really appreciate that. Really profound, sister. Appreciate that. Shalom to you. Hey, Elder Jenkins, what's up, man?
Shalom, Deacon. How you doing today?
I'm good, bro. How's it going, man?
Doing wonderful. Can't complain, man. Enjoy your class as always. And just wanted to share. I was once one of those believers, he hate the sin but love the sinner. It's so much information could be shared, but I'll keep it short. I was always drawn to the prophecies in the Bible. I always was drawn to the book of Revelations, and I spent many years working, not work shift work. I've been doing it since 19 years old. So spent many a night at the mill at night on the graveyard shift, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I got into listening to blog talk radio and end time prophecies. And they say Gog is this country and Magog is this country and this war. And they looking at world events, trying to place the world events and tie it to the scripture. And I got all caught up into that. They would say the Pope is the Antichrist and all of these different things. And you get you wanting to know. You got this hunger to know. And even I wasn't just always satisfied because I've been born and raised in a church all my life, Pentecostal holiness background. And that's all I knew was church. But it was always a hunger and a thirst to know more. And like some of the others said, the precept, I never, ever heard anything about precept. I remember one time as a deacon helping lead in devotion service, and I had to say the scripture. And I just happened to read a scripture that had precept in it. And I can remember that just like it was yesterday. Didn't know what it meant, but I remember that word. And then, like you said, when I saw Elder Johnson and he was teaching how to understand it, and it kind of really got my attention. And the more and more I listened, everything that I had in me that was built up in me over the years, what my faith and my foundation and belief, everything that I had in me, I would try to figure out what he was saying and match it against what I knew. And every time I do that, I always came out on the losing side. And every time I came on the losing side, it drew me more to figure out, to see this angle and that angle. And I was always on the losing side. And I remember it like yesterday. I believe a sister asked yesterday in the back about a phone number to call, I believe with Sister Johnson. Well, I called this number, and I'm thinking I'm going to be talking to, a secretary. I didn't know. And I knew his voice because I've been listening at his videos for a long time. He answered that phone, and I was like, Elder Johnson? He said, yeah. Man, that thing, it got to me, man. It got to me. So I pretty much poured my whole heart out to him, during that time. I was already an ordained minister, already, preaching, doing revivals, all of that. And the more and more I listened to his teachings, the more and more the fear came in, because I was going to specific scriptures that's dealing with ministers and the faith of ministers that's teaching false doctrine. And it was a weight on me. And I just poured my whole heart out. And like I said, I never know what drew me to him as far as, our friendship and everything. But I always I'm the same all the time. I never call him. He calls me most of the time. But I just pour my heart out, and I wanted to make sure as a teacher that I was teaching the people the right message. And it didn't matter if I had to separate myself from my family, a whole host of aunties and uncles that's in leadership. None of that mattered to me. It was all about making sure the message to the people was right. And so I thought I could take what I learned here at KJBU and share it with them, and they would get it. But he knew it wasn't going to happen, but I didn't at the time. I thought I could, and it did not happen. But just like that word tells us in Matthew 10:3, I came not to bring peace in this world, but a sword. And that sword, it did the separating. And so that separation took place. And like I say, man, it's been a beautiful thing. I believe you mentioned earlier about when you first come in contact with that truth, how that feeling is. I know exactly what you were talking about with that feeling. And so I'm thankful and grateful for this KJBU family, and especially all of the elders and deacons that's been coming on board in the last the last 3 years on up to now, because I see how it's helping the whole body, the kids, the seniors, and everyone as a whole. And I know deep down, Elder Johnson is grateful because, at once upon a time, it was just him. Now he have a lot more help because we got to get this word and this message out. So I'm not going to take up no more time. It's a whole lot could be said. But, I was one that believed in those end-time prophecies from those blog talk radio. It was Japhet that was pushing it out. I was caught up in that, but I'm thankful of the Most High Word.
Bro, carried by everyone the doctrine. You know what I mean? Like craziness. Whew, I appreciate your input, Elder. Shalom to you, man. Brother, sister Wooten.
Shalom, T. Shalom, everybody.
Oh, sis.
Well, to start with, the first heresy started when I called myself leaving the world and jumped into Christian church, Seventh-day Adventist church. And when I say this, you can pray for me, because I definitely needed it, and I still do. But I sat in there under, they didn't have like a pastor for a while. And so like the deacons and actually different people in the church would go up there and preach. And I sat in there under a deacon that had dementia. And he would be preaching and he would get lost, and somebody would have to go up there and get him, and not lost like wander off, but in his teaching, and somebody would have to go up there and like direct him back. And I actually sat there under that. I was a fool with a capital F. And whenever we finally, my husband said, look, we not doing this, no, because he had started listening to Elder Johnson and following that. And I was still thinking, I'm going to church because that's the right thing to do. But when I finally got some clarity and came up out of there, I thought I was straight, because I started listening to the teachings of Elder Johnson. And that was great, because it was always Bibles up. He didn't never teach nothing, and none of the deacons and elders here ever teach anything that you cannot see in scripture. The Bibles are always up. That was one big difference. So I did that. But some kind of way I wandered off over here in these podcasts and started listening to all this other crazy stuff, looking at things that were happening in the world and trying to tie that to the Bible and all this kind of crazy stuff. But thank the Most High I didn't stay in that. The more I started, listening to things at KJBU, the more it drew me in, because, truth, you can feel it. When you get the truth, you can feel that it's the truth. The Spirit will hold you right there. So I'm still here, and I ain't going nowhere. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I ain't going nowhere. I'm right here to stay. But I think my husband got something.
I appreciate that. Shalom to you, sister.
Shalom, Deacon Hicks.
Shalom, bro.
How you doing today?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. I'm seeing all this. Everybody's speaking what they got. It's beautiful, man. Like I said, it's for all y'all, So come on with it, bro.
There's a lot I probably could say for myself, because when like I say, I walked in the world blind for a long time. And I think I was over 50 before I even decided to even go to a church. Before that, if I went to church, it's because of somebody's funeral or something. But other than that, I was way over 50 or 60. So when the idea that I need to be in church, it hit me, I guess, was I was wide open for anything. And if I hear something about church, I'll listen to it, and it'll draw me in, and I'll listen, and I was thinking it's the right thing that I'm hearing. And it took a while before it did hit me with King James, when I came up with a King James Bible, that the other stuff that I was drawn into was just trash. It took me a while before I got to that point, but I was hearing a lot of garbage. But the morning, I think it's the morning Bible that they had out in that church. Oh man, that one. There's a couple more that I could talk about, but that one, they had me believing that the United States was like their home where they brought God people to. They got cities, that's named after some of the names of the people in the Bible, and it's on the map today, right there in Utah. Like they might have Jericho or Jerusalem. They got cities like that name in the names like that. And when they tell you the story, how the people came from overseas, from Africa and stuff to the United States, they got a little story that they tell you, and it runs smooth. It sound like it happened that way back then. That God had got mad and he was finna kill some of his people, and the people he was gonna kill because they weren't living right. So there was Nephi, this family, Nephi and them, they got together with some of their brothers and sisters, and they left, came to the United States. And the way they were telling the story, it sounded real, cause I didn't know no better. It sounded good to me. And they do have a church there in Utah. But the way they put the story together and how people came to America, the cities that they got there, they got a pyramid there in Utah, in that area. And the people built it. I fell for it. We were believing it. And it took King James Bible really to bring me out of it. And there was another one about the Ezekiel. I was listening to this guy from Utah was telling me he connect Ezekiel and how the wheel spins, UFOs. That's how he had me hooked with that. He had me believing that with the UFOs that they were talking about, And I was believing that too because, like I said, I was very vulnerable because everything I hear about church, I knew nothing about it, and I was believing it and was getting sucked in all the time until I came across King James Bible University. But I'm gonna end it right there because I can go on and on about it, but I'm gonna give somebody else a chance to talk also.
Telling you, bro, before we all came into the truth and understanding, we could all go on for a while. I promise.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it, yeah, both of you.
All right.
Shalom.
Shalom, Dick.
Sister Kiana.
Shalom, Deacon. How you doing?
I'm good, sis. Shalom to you.
I I've grown up in Christian Baptist church, and I'm only 24, so I just spent my first years of life in that. But my parents, they weren't as deep in Christianity. They was in it, we was Christians, but they weren't hardcore Christians some of my extended family are. So we never really talked about the Bible at home. We never really dealt with scripture or anything. We never really talked about it. And I was in, a choir in high school and stuff, but I never understood what I was doing fully, I guess. But I never really asked questions either. So, but I would say the craziest thing that I probably believed though was at one point after we listened to camps for a little bit, but after that we listened to this dude on YouTube, his name is Mike Malice. And he used to teach about the craziest stuff. He used to teach about that doctrine about leviathans being dragons and UFOs being cherry. He used to teach about the craziest stuff. And I remember it was this one lesson he was teaching on, and in the middle of the lesson he told his wife to shut up or something. And that, I think when I heard that was what that I think that's what did it for me. That rubbed me completely the wrong way. And I was never the one to ask questions with certain things. I just followed. I never really asked questions about the doctrines that, we was getting into. But I remember I did him something on Instagram, a question about celebrating celebrating a holiday or something. How were we actually supposed to celebrate something? And he sent a voice message back, and I remember I played it for Deacon Khalil one night with him, and my husband was on the phone, so he done heard it. But I still keep it in my remembrance to remember where I came from. And he never answered my question. So, and I feel like that's been a continuing thing all my life. Whenever I did ask questions, I never really got my answer. And, but any doctrine I taught to, I never studied the scriptures for myself, though. I never really asked questions, and I never had that sure foundation to stand on. I was always living my life in unsurety and seeking to fill this void that wasn't being filled by the things I was getting into. And then my mother-in-law, she was actually the one that brought up King James Bible University to my husband, and that's how we kind of got into it. But I will say for me personally, it took a minute for it to really stick to me because I felt like the lessons at the time were difficult for me to understand at the time, and I would get discouraged. So I wasn't consistent in the word and in my studies that I should have been, but also couldn't walk away from it either. I couldn't get away from it because I knew that tie was there. And then after a while, of course we gave up the doctrines and stuff that we was into, but that we previously believed. But I feel like the things that were wicked that I couldn't physically see or understand at the time was still there. Like I was still conflicting with things in my spirit, like still attached to, you know, the the things of the other doctrines that I couldn't understand at the time, like the pride, the slothfulness, the envy, insecurities, fear, like all those things I was still holding on to from other doctrines that I didn't know I was still holding on to. I was still battling with, but I didn't understand at the time how lost I still was, even though I found the location of truth, like where truth was being taught. I feel like I was doing things by requirement and just professing my belief, but not truly in full wholehearted faith was I really walking in truth. So I feel like I truly found my sense of identity after I was put through some really hard like trials in my life that showed me not only who I was, but about truly about the God that I serve and what he's really about. So I felt like I needed to be put in some harsh and painful trials to put me in a position where I had to learn how to get away from those things, like, and put me in a position where I had no one or nothing to lean on but Jehovah. Like that's how I became separated from those heresies, like from that conflict by being putting in those like difficult situations where I had no one to go to but him for wisdom, for comfort, for guidance. And then after being put through that, then I got baptized, and I feel like after that, that's when my life changed, and it turned in a way that I never could have imagined. And I became a new woman, and in true realization that as long as I continue to stand for God, there's then no one, nothing that can stand against me because he's that sure foundation that I have now. Now I'm unshakable and unmovable in my faith and belief in him because of what I went through and because what I've been learning and the truth that's been, being ingrained in my heart. Now I'm sure. Now I have that courage that I never really had. Now that void is being filled with truth and true faith and true belief in Jehovah, unlike how unsure I was in those other doctrines, which were truly a Satan. And I was in doctrines that were their foundations were built on sand. Like it wasn't sure foundations. And, I'm a slow learner. I may not fully understand how to run scriptures, as well as others or learn as quickly. But one thing that now I'm sure of is that I can't be turned from the God that I know. I can't be turned from this belief, and that I can stand on because I understand that this is the fountain of living waters that will quench my thirst forever. Like that I understand. So yeah, I think that's how I was able to, I now understand that that's how I was able to truly separate from those those heresies, like that conflict of those other doctrines, like how I was able to separate from that by being put through things to kind of really show me what I'm actually learning of and show me of the God that I'm serving. So yeah, that's all I have.
Amen. Welcome to the house of Jehovah, sis. Beautiful. Yo, brother Wade, what's good, bro?
Shalom, my brother. Shalom.
Oh,
Beautiful lesson today. Um, ain't nothing new though. What my issue was, like I told you last time, I was into all that dang card reading, that tarot reading stuff. And basically I'm just make it real short. It was back in, I want to say 2019, where I used to like do drugs, you know what I'm saying? Like get really drunk, just stupid stuff. And I basically went on the run, and I had got caught up around 2020. So November 19th when it started. But I got locked up with this guy. His name was Lawan. And he was like, the lady told me that you would come. And I'm like, what lady, man? And he was like, the black lady on the internet. So he had these cards, and I used to think that you could be a god. You know what I'm saying? I used to think that God could come in you and all that craziness. So what was crazy, it's funny because he was just like, are you Esau or are you Jacob? You know, and I was like, man, I was like, well, I'm the second one that was born, so I must be like Jacob. Just dumb stuff. And we used to be around in the pod, bro, and he was good at what is that? Is it chess? No. Yeah, I think it is chess. It's not checkers. You know how they sit in them tables and they play chess? He used to whoop people's butt, and he'd be like, I am God. And then, like I said, he got me fooled though, because that little Gideon book that they play in the that they give you in the county, that Gideon Bible or whatever. I had a bad cough one night, and he was like, "Look at this," and he showed me Jeremiah 55:14, but it was their their heresy book basically, and it's talking about something about coughing. I can't remember all the way, but it's just funny because I was on in there for like 21 days. So like my last day, he was like, I need you to we got to get our entrepreneurship started. He's like, you got to get out there and bust it and get this money. And you know what I'm saying? Make sure you call me. So man, look, for a good 3-4 months, man, when I got out, I was giving him a little bit of probably 30% of my check. You know what I'm saying? My wife, like, dude, you know, lost your mind. Everybody just like, nah, you don't know. I'm like, I'm telling you guys, this guy, I never knew a guy, And then I used to go on the YouTube and look up the card readings. And if it wasn't a black lady, I wasn't trying to find it. You know what I'm saying? So it happened until basically KJBU came up, but I cut him off. I want to say like a year later, and I'm only saying it happened when KJBU came up because even after I cut him off with a New King James Version Bible. I just sat there and I tried to look at what it is that I was following, and that pushed me away from the astrology. But it's still Christian doctrine. So I cut him up on the sale. He owes me like a lot of money, but I told him, it was my ignorance, so because I saw him like I want to say 4 months ago, and he's still in and out of jail, But yeah, that was my heresy moment, where I just got caught up listening and being just amazed at flesh to where anybody could have called me up back in the day. So that's my little, it's a long story, but I just cut it down in a short little basis, man.
Hey, bro, we all been in that position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's about.
Them cards, look, I'm telling you, them Ted, man, look, they getting a lot of people out. They taking people out. Them rappers, all them, everybody, they do it. They think that that's what it is. It's craziness, man. Can't make it up.
I appreciate your input, my brother. Man.
Yes, sir. All right, shalom,
brother. Sister Hall.
Shalom, brother.
Shalom, sister.
Okay, so I can remember when I was very, very like maybe 5, and my mom put me on this little white dress. Out of all, cause my mom had like 7 children, one passed away, and I was the only one that she put this little white dress on. Of course, everybody went to church, doing Easter and those days, but I was the only one that she put this little white dress on, and she pat me and she pushed me in the building. And I just felt like, that's what I need to do, keep going to a building. And then one time I went to that same building, but I was like a little older, maybe 18, went to that same building and walked in and sat down. And he asked me, he said, do you have a job? And I said, no, I don't have a job. He took me by the hand he put me out the building. So I was so confused. Then I found another building. And in this building, all this preacher did was he was fat, he was sweaty, and all he did was jump up and down, sweat pouring down, and he just, all this hooping and hollering, crying, all this stuff he was doing. You know what they do in the buildings. Today I call it the monkey show. And I was just sitting there, and I was like, I know it got to be something other than this, because I always get this question, you just leaving church? I was like, yeah, what you learned today? I could never say. I don't know. I said, well, one thing I do learn in the building, at that time I learned how to get my money up. I learned that now. Ooh, I learned about that 10%. And I didn't have no money at that time, but I used to scrape my little dollar up, $2. I used because I knew you couldn't go in the building without giving something. That's why I got put out the first time. So I said, I know I got to make sure I got something in my pocket. Got to have some money. And I just kept going to that bin. And it just didn't fit well. And then as I got maybe around my 20s or 21s, and this guy was doing my hair, and his name was Bailey. And Bailey said, the Church of Christ is the one. They are in the Bible. And if I can prove to you that the Church of Christ is in the Bible, will you come to church with me? I said, you can't prove to me the Church of Christ in the Bible. He said, okay, if I prove to you the Church of Christ is in, I said, well, okay, prove it to me. He went to the Bible, salutes one another with the holy kiss, something like that, the Church of Christ is in you, something like that. So when I read it, I like, oh my God, the Church of Christ is in the Bible. I think it's salute one another with a holy kiss. The Church of Christ salute you. I think that's what it is. And he said, now you got to keep your word. I said, well, okay. So I went to the building, and I was starting hearing things I never heard, because the Church of Christ, there's no music. Everybody sang together. That kind of caught me. And once the preacher get up, he just teaching. He don't have on this sweater suits. He just got on regular clothes. So certain thing that was in Church of Christ caught me. And the ladies, they taught me how to dress because I was young. So when you're young, you're showing things. So they taught me how to dress. They were so nice. They take me to their house. They feed me. They just was so nice to me. And I wasn't used to that. So I started asking questions. Like I see certain, because they had Bible studies, and I see certain things in the Bible. I said, well, who are these people? Who are these Israelites? And the teacher said, oh, they just go up chosen people that they died off. They don't no longer exist. I was like, they no longer exist. So I just thinking. Then the preacher said again, he said, back in the Bible days, they'll sit down and they just read. And I told Ella Jenkins this probably years ago about how I love the Psalm class, because all we do is read. And I was sitting in the building, and when he said that, I wonder why we don't do that. Why we just don't read? Because I know if you read, you get a little understanding, but I would never gonna get the right understanding of the building. But I knew I wanted to just read. Couldn't get it there. So I got sick of the Church of Christ. I got tired of the fact of I'm not getting, it's something I'm hungry for. See, one thing about it, when you're searching for the truth, you don't know what you're searching for because you don't know what the truth is. You just know it's something you're missing. I was missing something. And I look around this big old beautiful building, all these nice people, these nice jobs, but they won't help me get a job. So I went to one particular lady, and this is when I was kind of like, I'm just done. I went to one particular lady, and she was like the supervisor over defects. And I always wanted a state job, any type of job that I knew that had some substance that, you can grow and things like that. And she said, put the application in. I got you, sister. I got you. So I put the application in and did everything. I spent money I didn't have because I had to get this up there. I just did everything she told me to do. And she said, something came back on your background. I like, what? What come back on? And so she said, you didn't tell me about that. I said, you didn't ask me, did I have a background? You just told me to put the application in. And I forgot what it was at that time. It was been years ago, but she said, I just can't deal with this. I just can't deal with the fact that you got a background. I just felt so bad. I was so excited. I want a job. So I'm feeling down, down, down. Went to another um lady in the church, and she was a supervisor over Miller's, big old manufacturing companies that's in Albany. And she wouldn't help me. So when my husband got out of prison, um, they wouldn't help him find a job. I'm like, this cannot be the place. They wouldn't help him. They talked down on him and stuff like that. You just getting out of prison and you bottom of the barrel. These people got companies that they could just help you. And I seen they helping that brother, that, they just won't help us. All because of how much money we was putting in the pot every Sunday. We weren't putting much, we didn't have anything. And a brother came to me. I'm not gonna say a brother, but a guy that I knew all my life. My mama took him in, raised him, and he said, "Can I show you something?" And he said, "I just need you, just please, just listen to me." I said, "Okay, fine." So he came to me on now that I know it's a Sabbath, but at that time it was Saturday. He knocked on my door. He came to me. He said, "I need you to listen to me." He put this he said, "Do you know about YouTube?" I'm like, "No, I never heard of YouTube." So he put this on. It was at that time, his name was Brother Yoshua, and he played Sunday Deception. So even though I didn't know anything about spiritually, I didn't know anything about reading spiritually, but I understood everything that was said. And I got all the verses. I started searching then. So that Sunday deception got me out that building. Never went back. Never went back to the building. So that was my first test. My first test was to get out the building. And then I started such and such and such and ran across IUIC, and I had them on television and kind of live. I was in my den. So my husband came to me. He said, "You know what? Now this ain't making no sense. You mean to tell me that you'll sit there and listen to a man cuss more than me?" Huh. I said, "Wow. I guess the Most High God can use anybody." So I got out of IUIC and I started listening to somebody else put a little video up, and he said, it's okay to say the word Jesus. So I was listening to him, once his video. So something told me to like that video. I don't know why I liked it, but I did. And when I liked that video, something came up behind it, and it was Elder Johnson. Not something came up, Elder Johnson came up behind it. And when Elder Johnson went to talking, I didn't like his speech. I didn't like it. Why? Because it was unknown to me. So I was like, I don't like him. And I went searching. So I was like, oh my God. It was something about Elder Johnson. So I went back, try to find Elder Johnson. Couldn't find him anymore. I like, was that my only chance of knowing the truth? So something came to me. Remember, you liked that video? Go to that video, and Elder Johnson would be right behind it. I promise you. That's how it was. So I went to that video. I fast forward through the whole video and popped up. Elder Johnson was right behind the same video that I didn't want to listen to at first. So I listened to Elder Johnson. Elder Johnson was making a lot of sense. Lot of sense, lot of sense, lot of sense he was making it. And I was just plugged in from then. I was plugged in, and that's just how I found King James Bible University, because at first I didn't want to hear Elder Johnson's speech because it was unknown to me. But I went back. I was crawling on my knees. I was begging God, I said, please, 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 just give me one more chance. One more chance. And he did. And thank you, brother, for listening to me.
Oh, it's all good. That's what we're here for, sister. Appreciate your input. Shalom to you. But for time's sake, Sister Renee is gonna be the last one. Mother Blow. Mother Blow, you there? All right, we'll come back to her. Sister Barbara.
Shalom, Deacon.
Hello, sister.
My encounter with heresies was I was in the church and they was talking about the Old Testament was done away with. And I say, well, God's word never changed. So how is it done away with? And with the Apocrypha wasn't in the Bible what I had. So I questioned it and didn't get an answer. And from your lesson last week, a week before last about witchcraft, I too was supposed to be a praise and worship leader. We saw Benny Hinn, T. Jenks, Creflo Dollar, Juanita Bynum, and all that. So that was a part of witchcraft. I was incarcerated, as the lady said last week before last. But that's all I want to say, that I was too a part of heresies and all these different, the works of Galatians 19 to 21. That's all I have.
Wow. That's all. So we need, appreciate your input, sister. For real. Shalom to you. Mother Blow, you ready?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was
good.
my thought came in. For what I was gonna say, yeah, I was under false teaching for so many years. And my husband passed in 2013. And after that, I said, you know what? Now I'm gonna just devote my life to the Lord, but I was still in the church. And to be honest, the pastor that was there, he was saying one day, he said, I got something to tell you all, but I can't do it here. So his mother and I were friends. So he invited some of us to his house. And that's when he had started looking at this guy called Drawback Jacob. And he was just talking about the Israelites, the Hebrews, and we became very curious, as a matter of fact. And that started bringing, stuff to you. And so after Mac passed, I did continue to go to the church, but I became curious. And me and my friend, we would go to her house and we would just look at that, and and another question that always was with me: why are Black people so hated? I would even ask my mother, but she didn't have an answer. And now I got the answer. And my friend Donna, she found Elder Johnson, and she called me. She said, Queen, I found someone. And I didn't hesitate. And like we were talking, we always talk because she's my friend. And I can say a true friend. And we were talking the other day, and I said, you know what? I could never go back into a church. Of course, I've been in it to funerals and stuff because relative providing is not on the Sabbath. And most of the time it's a close friend and our close family. Remember, I would tell them, I don't do nothing on the Sabbath now. That's not happening. So if you have the funeral on the Sabbath, then I won't be there. And they would change that. They would have it on a weekday. And that's fine, because then I will go. But if they have it on a Friday, it better be before 6, and I'm gonna get out there before 6, But to make a long story short, is no way you can sit under Elder Johnson, you directly from the book, and can't believe it. It is no way I will go back to what I was doing. Like I was telling Donna, unless I lose my mind, that I don't think God will let that happen, because he wants me to know about it. So that's my thing. Okay.
I hear you, sis. Thank you, Mother Blow. Very, very enlightening. Appreciate your input. Shalom to you. Sister Durant.
Shalom. Good morning.
Sister.
So mine is, all my life, I was in the Christian church because my
parents, where my father was, um, from what they would call themselves, they're obviously false prophets because they were in the church. So, but I didn't know anything else. I didn't know, just like again the witchcraft thing going on, all the different churches and all the different religions and different pastors, TD Jakes and all of them. We listened to them, but it came a point in time after my mother passed away where I was just like, it seemed like I was just looking for something. I'm looking for something. I didn't know what it was. I was just looking. And then, we saw little things here and there. Then I had ran across Elder Johnson's video. I was just looking, but we listened to camps here and there, but it just didn't seem right. It still didn't seem right. There's a lot of things that they would say and do. I just still didn't seem right. Then again, we listened to Darby. We listened to different people. Still didn't seem right. And then then Elder Johnson's video popped up on my screen one day, and I just started watching it, and I was like, this is different. But then it did seem like I was like, you know what? I think I think this is what I'm looking for. It seems like everything that he's saying, but it was just a lot of information, because I will not forget was the first videos were the Adam and Eve videos. And I was like, wow, they're like I was thinking to myself, they're like 2.5 hours. They're like really long. When I got my husband, I was like, honey, this is a few of them. We got to watch these. It was just information I never heard before. It just seemed so, and then I started, it seemed real. It was just very, very good. So then we just started watching it more and more. And I got real excited because it seemed like, again, it was just, everything was right. And that void I was trying to feel, it seemed it was being filled. And then, I was started, just investigating more, look, oh, he has books. Oh, we got to get this book. Oh, we got to get that book. Oh, we really have to listen to them. So then my husband started listening more. And then he was like, wow, this is interesting, Dave. This is his information is really good. So it just went on from there. And I can't say that there's that we are being fed, and we're thankful for being here. And because there is definitely no other way to learn the Most High's word but by the truth, of course. And we know we're being fed that here, and we're just thankful for being here. So that's pretty much what my story is. And yeah, again, my whole family, everybody, no one wants to talk to us. No one, I mean, it's unbelievable. It is unreal how this is just it's unreal. One more thing I wanted to say, I was gonna from the church, so when we were in the church, not like I'm talking about when I was a child, like mostly, in the Pentecostal church. It was really interesting that they would call themselves Gentiles in church. And then not only that, but they used to have these for the pastor, the so-called pastor, that's what they're calling them. They would call, oh no, it wasn't, it was the bishop. Their so-called bishop. So they would have these for his anniversaries. They would have these they would call them tribes. And this is amazing to me now. Of course, when we came into the truth, it's like, oh, I know what a tribe is now, but that is not a tribe. That was not a tribe. That was not because they would actually have everybody would have they would have these tribes, and every tribe would raise who could raise the most money for the. I can't remember how many. I probably was. So I don't know how many tribes it was, but they would all compete against each other who could raise the most money. And at the beginning, or at the so-called bishop's anniversary night, they would have a midnight musical, and they would all come together and see who they would raise. I mean, when I tell you, oh my goodness, the money, it was unreal. Unbelievable. So, but yeah, I didn't know what a tribe. I was thinking, no, I know what a tribe is now. That was not a tribe. They were competing against each other, and they were calling themselves tribes. That's something, though. Yeah, I want to bring that up.
That's funny. That's scam right there. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. That's funny.
Hello.
Sister Nikita.
Hey, Shalom, Deacon. How you doing?
I'm good, sis. Thank you. How's it going?
It's going okay. Going to church, back in the days, crosses and all those different things, and um, believing that Jesus, the man, was God, and believing also that he was a white guy all my life, like just from the time, first going to church up until I learned the truth. But the biggest thing was just thinking that Jesus was God and that he was a white man. And when I found out, thinking that he, going to a different church, they had a picture of this man and the so-called Jesus, and he was a black man. That was the first time I ever saw that, because all the other churches I ever went to, he was a white man on the wall. And then even going to family houses and stuff like that, they all had white Jesus, throughout the house and everything. But when I first saw that black one, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that, it did something to me. And then going on, I end up getting out the church, and I end up trying to, see uh, more in depth on who this man Jesus was, which I thought was God at the time. And I thought he was black from when I saw it at the church, but I got out of the church and I ended up running to IUIC, and they had that picture with that black man, which they called Jesus, with the, all the hair like wool. And they went over Revelations 1:13 through 15, and it had me to believe that, that was it. And I'm like, I went there, and once I found out, that that wasn't even true. I actually was going through camp, the IQIC or whatever that thing called, and it just something wasn't ringing with me there. I ended up getting out of that, and just trying to pursue even more of, like, who I was. It was just something wasn't right, and I ended up running across Elder Johnson, and all that was explained, through just going through teachings and things like that. But yeah, that's what caught me, was the crosses, which I know that's not even true. Acts 5:30, it says he passed on the tree, and and Jesus is not, the man is not our God. He's actually a servant, and yeah, it was just, that's what caught me. But that's all I got. Thank you.
All right. It was a lot. We all got
Yes.
Shalom. Hey, Sister Danielle. Where you at? Can't hear you, girl.
Shalom, Elder. Can you hear me?
Hey.
I mean, Shalom, Deacon Hicks. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So my experience, basically, I grew up in the Church of Christ, and sometimes we'll be reading verses, you know, literally saying, remember the Sabbath. But I was like, how are we reading over it like that? It's like we're saying it, we're saying the words, remember the Sabbath, and like, Church of Christ are like New Testament people. So, but I would look at the verse and it would be right there in the New Testament. So then I couldn't understand, how is it in the New Testament? If they follow the New Testament, then shouldn't we actually be keeping the Sabbath? But then they would say the old law has been nailed to the cross. They would show me like Colossians 2:14, and of course I wouldn't read it for myself to realize that it did not say anything about the Sabbath. So I swallowed it up and I believed it all. And we would have events, and like the person who would be bringing the pork would be like the star of the show. Like everybody would be looking forward to that. And then they would like make like little jokes about it. And I'd be like, they're joking about it as if, they like, are we not supposed to be doing this? And then they would be like, okay, some denominations are calling what God has made unclean, and they would refer to like Acts 10:14, which I was really glad when we actually went through that here at KJBU. I think sometimes last year, but they would use that to basically say that everything is clean, and once you pray over it, it's good. And I was glad because I liked it, so I was like, okay, we can eat it then. Great. So I was like justifying my own desire too, and I was just glad that that part was in alignment. But when I started like really doubting everything was when I would constantly, throughout my entire childhood, my whole life, I would see certain behaviors that were very major. Everyone would know about it. And I would say, okay, I'm not judging because, who am I? But then they would take it to a next level of actually using the scripture to justify it. And they would say, it's okay if this person is doing this, even if he's the pastor, because God is a forgiving God. And then we would read over verses like, should we continue in sin that grace may abound? Like that would always be on my mind. Like, should we continue in sin because of grace? And I would go and research it. And then I would realize that there are so many verses that are saying we shouldn't live in sin. But like I just could not like, should we live in sin or should we not live in sin? Then I would be like, okay, but if God is merciful and we can live in sin, then why do we even bother to not sin? Like clearly we're trying not to sin because we shouldn't be sinning. So I just couldn't understand it. And things, more and more major things started to happen, and they would defend it with their whole chest and go to the scriptures and show how merciful God is. And then my thing was like, I don't want to judge because like I sin too. But over time, I feel like it was just like a joke. Like, are we even taking this seriously? So then once I got older and I was an adult and I didn't need to go with like my family, then I stopped going, only to end up in a worse situation. I was going to this Pentecostal church and so-called church building, and they would believe that speaking in tongues is like spiritual warfare, and that you should wake up at like specific times to war in the spirit. I can't even say it now with a straight face, but I completely believed it. I would be fighting my sleep to wake up at 3 a.m. to pray, and then would be falling back asleep thinking that, okay, God is going to be so mad at me now, and like bad things are going to happen because I'm not able to stay up late at night to war in the spirit and ward off the demon. And then giving would be a huge thing. They would say that the church is built on giving. And the giving is supposed to get you some material so-called blessings. And there is so much heresy in that because one, I now know that blessings are wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, which I was clearly lacking. So, and also giving 10% of my money, now I realize it was never biblical. And they actually even spoke to me about my tithes because I wasn't paying the consistent amount. So I guess they could tell that it couldn't be 10% if it was a different amount every week. And they would say, give now and see what happens. And the pastors would come back saying that they miraculously counted some money and it doubled the second time that they counted it. And their kids would testify that they went into their account and there was extra money. And I would be given and wondering, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I not getting any extra money? Every time I pray and I check my account, it's the same. They would say that they get dreams of money being handed out to the church and that God is going to bless the congregation if you stay there and wait. So I was like, okay, I clearly need more patience so I can keep waiting. And sometimes they would say the Spirit of God was there that day, and people would say that they heard angels singing with the choir, which I was on, and I just couldn't hear it. So I started wondering, like, what is wrong with me? Also, people were getting the gift of tongues and like bursting into tongues, and I was just starting to wonder, like, where are my tongues? Where's the extra money? Why am I not hearing the angels? Like, what is wrong with me? And it got me to a point where I just started to get frustrated and asking God, like, why is everybody experiencing him, but I am not? But they would say, like, you can't speak in tongues because you're not humble enough to just say whatever comes to your lips. And I'm like, that's it, just say whatever comes to my lips. And then they were like, yeah, just say whatever comes to your lips. So then I said whatever came to my lips, and they were like, oh, rejoice. And I'm like, no, this is crazy. This is stupid. So I stopped doing it. And they were like, you stop speaking in tongues, the enemy is going to get an angle to like attack you. You have to keep speaking in it. And I was just like, no, I don't like this. I don't know what I am saying. Nobody's interpreting what I'm saying. But anyway, when I look back at it now, it just seems like pure witchcraft. But at the time when I was in it, I couldn't see it. And like that's the thing. Like when you're in it, you're not knowing what you think that you're doing something reaching closer to God or and stuff like that. And the manipulation. And I'm looking back at it now, like hearing voices and feeling the so-called presence.
It's so ridiculous. It's all
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's like all ridiculous. It's almost like a
Yeah.
mental situation. But anyway, I remember after coming into the truth, I started watching a series that I was like hooked on, called Have You Been Deceived by the Principles of Christianity or something like that. And I watched the whole series and I was just like, oh my God, what was I doing with my life? Like all these years, all this time, I was doing all of these crazy things that were basically witchcraft, and God was watching me the whole time. And the fact that He hasn't destroyed me is just like, I just have to be thankful.
Yep. Yep. I hear you, sis. I appreciate your input. We all been got. So shalom to you, sis. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brother Brian. Going once, Brother Brian. Brother Jones. Sister Tanya. Go on.
Shalom. Oops, hold on. Echo. Okay, do you still hear the echo?
Nah, you good.
Okay. All right. Shalom, brother. Shalom, everybody. I was just going to share really quickly that I got sucked into the heresy of the Jewish folks being the Jews. I was given money yearly, like monthly, to Zola Levitt Ministries. And I had even ordered his books on how to learn Hebrew. And I even picked up in Books A Million, Judaism for Dummies. Like I was just so hell-bent on making sure that Jewish people could be converted so they could be Messianic Jews. It was just foolishness. However, when I went to seminary school, I remember asking the professor, do we need to keep all these laws? Because we were doing the read through the Bible in the whole year, but amplified, because this was an accredited seminary or cemetery school. So I remember asking her, do we got to keep all these laws? What's all these laws? And she looked at me dead in my eyes and she said, are you Jewish? And I said, no. She said, then you don't have to keep it. But something didn't sit well with me because I knew that we were the descendants of the biblical Hebrews, but I didn't have enough common sense or reading comprehension to understand that I was looking at my heritage. I was looking at my lineage. I was looking at my covenant. So I'm a little embarrassed about it today, but that's just one example of how I was bamboozled. I was even given to Benny Hinn. I don't know if you recall, but he would partner with this organization called On the Wings of Eagles, where you would help the poor Jewish people get back to their land. And I was even given to that foolishness. So glad that I came out of that. And one of the pieces of how I came out of that is I came upon some loved ones that went to church with me were in KJBU, and I started listening to Elder Jenkins, and everything that all the scriptures, it was all about the scriptures. You didn't see his face, you only heard his voice, and the scriptures on the screen were just spiking into my heart. And I knew in the heart of my heart of the heart that this was truth. The only deal breaker was I needed for Elder Jenkins to still say that Jesus was God. And he showed me that he wasn't. And I had to sell all that I had, and I bought this. Shalom.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, sister. Yep. Again, we was all got. Brother Brian.
Well, I'm new coming to the truth, and I'm just happy that I'm out of it because I'm a product of a preacher's son, thinking what everything they said in the church was true until I came across Elder Johnson and just the words that he was saying, because I was always searching. I said, how come I was asking my dad questions? Why is this there? Why is this there? He's like, oh, you just got to have faith. And then Elder was showing me by the word what was true. And I'll go back to my dad and say, hey, what about this? Oh, no, don't listen to that. And I said, I was showing him. I said, what about this? He said, well, I'm too old to change. Unfortunately, he died, but, I kind of felt like No, the truth is right here. What are we doing? Listen to the man. And as I continued to listen to King James Bible, it just kept on showing me that, hey, get out that church. There's truth here. And then others started to change their teaching to where you have to make a choice. And I was like, you know what? I can't even do this no more. So I told my family, I said, hey, I'm not about this no more. You know, and they upset, oh, like you going to this and y'all say, you know, if that's the truth, that's the truth. But you cannot show me different. Y'all saying that all you have to do is believe, but I can show you what is true. It's right here. And I'm still new, as I say, and I want to get involved with the men's group they said they have on Thursday, just so I can find out what's wrong with me. Because I know that my doctrine I had to get rid of it. Because I thought I had to, but I was a big dummy. I was just the biggest dummy, speaking dummy language. But like I say, I'm still new. I'm still got some things I got to get out of my system that I was taught that I'm learning now that all that was lies to me. Mm-hmm. I just thank God that, you know, he was able to at least show me truth that I can change, even to the point where I was a drinker, I was a smoker, and I was taught that God would just take it from me. But Elder said one day, he said, you know what? He took it already. Your choice is, are you picking it back up? Mm. And now it's been 3 weeks, I ain't touched it. No drinking, no smoking. And people are like, how'd you quit? I said, man, once you get convicted, I said, it's your choice. You can't no longer have to say, well, Lord's going to do it. No, he done did it already. You believe he did it. And that's the major point with me. I'm 40 years into drinking and smoking. And to just realize that all my life, this is what I was doing, and it's gone, and it's not by my choice of, oh, I can just do it. No. The word told me that, hey, if this is the walk you're going to be on, you got to get rid of all these things. And I'm just happy to be in that truth so I can better myself so that people can see that, hey, it's not me doing anything. I'm a work of what God has done in me and showed me. And hey, I can do it, you can do it. It's been done before. You can see the examples. And I just want to say thank you. And I'm so happy that I was able to at least say something because I've been been sitting in the back, never come to the front. This is the first time that I've came to the front, and I just want to say thank you for that opportunity.
Appreciate that, bro. It's all good. Anytime, man. Every time. All right? Thank you.
Brother.
Brother Edwin, what's up, man?
Shalom, D.
Shalom, bro.
Always appreciate your classes, man. You know, I think about Sirach 32:8, you know, it says, let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. You know, and you say so much in few words, and the evidence of that is clearly seen right here in the back when these hands go up. You know, your good works is clearly seen when all these hands go up, even though you comprehend much and you only speak a few words, you know, and I truly appreciate that. But I'm not going to focus on the front part of your question because, you know, every winter doctrine, bro, I can go on all day long about that. But I'm going to focus on the back end of your, what you wanted from us. And, you know, never meeting Dr. Shaul, but hearing from Elder about him. And, you know, a good name lasts forever. You know, that good way of Dr. Shaul through the testimonies of Elder, you know, that way gonna live forever. You know, and with Elder, you know, again, I look at Sirach 6:36. If thou seest a man of understanding, get thee betimes unto him, and let thy foot wear the steps of his door. You know, Elder, you know, he testified the same thing that he did with Dr. Shaul. You know, if it wasn't for KJBU and bringing forth this spiritual dictionary, and we could run all the precepts we want, but if you don't understand how the words are functioning and what they mean, you know, you could still be teaching false doctrine. You know, so I'm very thankful for the wisdom, you know, that was given unto them and the labor that they put in to bring forth this truth, you know, bringing this well of knowledge out, you know. And I also think about Isaiah chapter 12 and verse 3. It says, therefore, with joy shall ye draw water out of the wells of salvation. So I draw water out of the wells of salvation. You know, I know that Jehovah needs a body, and these men are giving their bodies up as a living sacrifice, which is their reasonable service. And the word is in them. And you know it because it just flows harmoniously with the Spirit of God. And I'm just thankful for all the resources that are given to us here, that we're able to not only learn the truth, but able to speak it. And that's all I got. Shalom.
Appreciate you, big bro. Shalom to you, man. Sister Renee is going to be the last one. Already announced that. Brother Deshaun.
Shalom, Deacon. How you doing?
Good, bro. Shalom to you, man.
And I think everybody kind of said it, like the heresy. I was caught in everything. Jesus is God, even a little bit of the camps. It's funny. The Christians say the rapture, and the camps say the UFO's gonna beam you up, and I'm like, man. So, well, when that truth come get you, it just like stuff started coming to KJBU. It just started making so much sense. It just go. I'm like, so this, like, it's just like everything starts clicking, and then you keep watching other teachings, especially now when you go back to the older teachings. It just makes so much sense. So I'm just so grateful to get out of that, to get out of that confusion. And even though it's a lot of information, at sometimes you meditate and you just take your time and get it. It just be like, I'm like, wow. I'm just so thankful, because I could have been still stuck in that. I'm just so thankful for the Most High to get me out of it. Thank you for letting me speak.
Absolutely. Shalom to you, my brother. Sister Renee.
Shalom, Deacon Hicks. Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
So this would be the moment for anyone. If you have any children, you may want them to leave the room for the moment. So I've been in like a lot of doctrines, Christian doctrines, a lot of just a bunch of stuff. I've listened to camps. I've listened to women, a lot. One of the ones I remember, there was a woman, she was saying that women shouldn't wear pants. I think that's probably like something from camps too. And I remember being like, well, I don't want to get my skirts and my dresses dirty when I'm gardening, because at the time I was doing gardening and stuff. I was like, I don't really want to do that. Like, why would I have to wear a dress to do everything, basically? Like, I didn't understand that. Then the other thing was something that happened to me like in my teen years, to where like I never told anyone for a while until I told my dad. But like there was like, I remember I was in bed and then I was floating and there was like a glowing figure, and I remember I saw it and it scared me like a lot. And then after that I wasn't floating anymore. But a lot of camps and stuff, I don't know what camp it was. Like later on, I was a little older, and my dad, he was listening to one of those kind of camp people doctrines where they were talking about Nephilims. And I brought up, I was like, oh, that happened to me before, where I was floating in my bed and all that stuff. But then later, like whoever was excuse me, whoever was talking was like, oh, they was sleeping with them and all of that stuff. So then it was just super duper, just like I was telling my dad that, and then, like he was still in the room and like all that happened. So yeah, still don't understand it, what it was. I know that it's not that, but yeah. And the same thing is with how I got to come across King James Bible University. The same thing is basically through a lot of the going through multiple different doctrines and all of that stuff. My dad came across it first, and I found out about it through him. So, shalom.
Shalom, sister. Thank you for your input. Hey, listen, right? As I said, we all been got. every last one of us. And as I also said, we all knew that there was something more, right? A void. And once we got that understanding, that spirit been quickened, and you know the truth when you hear it. We got that discerning spirit. We got that understanding. Right? So with that being said, I just want to thank you all for joining me today on this first day of the week study with your man, Deacon Hicks, Deacon Ant. You want to call me, it is what it is, you know. But with that being said as well, let's get ready for our meal, y'all, with Deacon James, all right? And until next week, until next time, I'd like to say a strong shalom to you all, and thank you again for joining